What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network for my first Rebel Clash deck profile. The Rebel Clash set is not out in North America yet, but it is made up of VMAX Rising and Rebellious Clash from Japan. So we already know most of the cards that are going to be in the set, and I've been looking at some Japanese deck lists from some casual tournaments that are going on and some official tournaments from before tournaments began being canceled. So we'll be looking at a deck list of Toxtricity Garbodor today, and also going in depth to look at a few of the new cards that are featured in the deck. Before we do that, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place to get PTCGO codes, and you can use code CELIO for 5% off. Also, shout out to FlipsideGaming.com, where I write free articles, and you can use code CELIO, all caps, to get 10% off on your next order, $10 or more. So like I said, Toxtricity Garbodor, a new archetype that I've seen some lists for from Japan, and we'll be taking a look at this list today. You can follow the creator of the list on Twitter at cardbox_cmall, and I actually found this list on Ho News, I believe it's pronounced, HOU-HOU News. I believe it's supposed to be pronounced similar to Ho-Oh, the Pokemon. So I'll link them in the description below as well, because that's a great resource for Japanese decks and meta and whatnot. But yeah, so this is the list we're looking at: Toxtricity VMAX, Garbodor, and of course, if you don't know what any of these new Japanese cards do, we'll be taking a look at them in just a second. Once we're done looking at the new cards individually, I'll go over the list as a whole. I won't spend too much time on the actual list, but we'll briefly take a look and maybe a couple things I might change. Also, shout out to PalPad, which is an iPhone app that I use to make deck list images like this from time to time, and it's a really cool and useful app. Okay, so first we're going to look at Toxtricity V and Toxtricity VMAX. The Toxtricity V has actually already been released as a tin promo, so you can pick these up already, but the Toxtricity VMAX is going to be in our Rebel Clash set, which will be our spring set. So Toxtricity V is 210 HP, V Pokemon, 2 prizer. The first attack, Poison Jab for lightning, does 20 damage, and your opponent's active is now poisoned, so right off the bat it's kind of doing 30 plus, maybe even more, however long the poison sticks around. So not too bad for just one lightning energy. And then Electric Riot for lightning colorless, 90 plus damage. This attack does 90 more damage if your opponent's Pokemon is poisoned. So 180 damage for 2 energy. If you have Thunder Mountain out, you can do this easily with Thunder Mountain and Cocoa Prism. Electric Riot, honestly, not that bad of an attack. And then we've got Toxtricity VMAX with 320 HP, so it gains 110 HP. Of course, it's a VMAX, so this is a 3 prize Pokemon now, and it only has 1 attack, which is Giganto Riot, 160 plus damage. This attack does 80 more damage if your opponent's active is poisoned, so it does 240 if they're poisoned, and then of course 250 for the poison damage, and then if you use an Electropower, that's 270 plus poison, so that's 280. That's knocking out an ADP. Without the extra Electropower damage, you're knocking out Zacian V. So you're knocking out pretty important Pokemon that are in the standard meta as of now. It will take a little bit to get up to knocking out a VMAX Pokemon in one hit, but maybe a Poison Jab from earlier and then an Electropower or 2 later on can help you get there. So for 320 HP, like I said, it can do a really decent amount of damage as long as your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned. And it's lightning type, which just gives it such potential because of Cocoa Prism and Thunder Mountain and Volcaner and Electropower, and you'll see that all of those cards are in this deck, as well as the new special lightning energy, which is really good. So I think Toxtricity VMAX. I always want to say Toxtricity, and yeah, had some trouble spelling and searching for this card. But yeah, I think Toxtricity VMAX as a card has a fair amount of potential. So I definitely see why there are an entire decks built around it so far in Japan. Next, of course, we need a way to poison our opponent's active Pokemon, and the new Garbodor does just that. It's stage 1 Pokemon at 120 HP, and it has the ability Poison Pool. Once during your turn, if there is a stadium in play, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned. What's nice about this is it doesn't even have to be your stadium, so if your opponent happened to stick a Chaotic Swell out, then you can still use Poison Pool. You don't have to worry about knocking the Swell out and then there not being a stadium there anymore. So you can leave your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned, which it's kind of a useful ability even outside of this deck if you needed extra damage over time or just one extra tick of damage in a certain matchup for a specific deck you're building. So I think the ability Poison Pool is really good, but it's also very, very convenient to have for the Toxtricity VMAX card as a partner to consistently poison your opponent's active Pokemon, and that will be helping us proc that extra 80 damage, which is a huge chunk of damage, and you might as well call it an extra 90 because of the poison that we're also inflicting. Next, we've got BOLTUNDV. So this is a cool basic V Pokemon. This does not have a VMAX card. It's just the V. 200 HP, lightning type basic. Of course, it's a V Pokemon, so your opponent gets 2 prizes for knocking it out. Lightning type again, so it's going to have some potential right off the bat because of its typing. It has the attack Electrify for a lightning energy. Search your deck for up to 2 lightning energy and attach them to your benched Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. So this is a nice energy accelerant. I think this kind of foolproofs lightning type archetypes just a little bit more. With lightning type archetypes, sometime relying on Cocoa Prism or Thunder Mountain or both to be in the deck and neither be prized for your early game speed sometimes. That can be a little bit risky. Of course, most of the time they're going to be in the deck, but the games where they're prized can really hurt your early game. So I think BOLTUNDV is a nice fix to that since it has the Electrify, and you can take a turn to just set up 2 extra lightning energy on your board. Now, of course, if you go second and you attack with this on your first turn, and then your opponent knocks it out, they get 2 prizes off the bat. But if this is in a Pikarom deck or a Toxtricity VMAX deck, your opponent is facing down 3 prize Pokemon anyway. So if they knock out Boltund and then 2 3-prize tag teams, they worked a lot harder for their 6 prizes than they had to. So I do think that could work out, and I do think Electrify will see play. And then it has the Lightning Storm attack for Lightning Colorless, 10 plus damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each lightning energy attached to your Pokemon in play. So let's imagine we use Electrify on our first turn going second. So we attach energy to Boltund, and then we attach 2 lightning energy to a bench Toxtricity. That's 3 energy on the board. Next turn, we attach a lightning energy to Boltund for turn. That's 4 energy on the board. And then we use Cocoa Prism to excel 2 more lightning energy, 1 to each Toxtricity on our bench. That would be a total of 6 lightning energy on our board. And that means Lightning Storm would be doing 190 damage, plus however amount for if you poison them with Garbodor, if you use Electro Powers, etc. So I think Lightning Storm's actually decently solid. For only 2 energy, you can maybe knock out an opposing Boltund, or you can knock out an opposing Pikarom with a couple Electro Powers and poison. So I think Lightning Storm looks fairly weak when you're just looking at it at a glance, but because this is a lightning type Pokemon, it has so much support, I actually think Lightning Storm can be pretty decent. Next, we've got Tool Scrapper and Speed Energy. So Tool Scrapper is a reprint. Discard up to 2 Pokemon tools from either player's Pokemon. This is in the deck because it's a really useful card. We don't have Field Blower in Standard. Faba, of course, can also get rid of special energy and stadiums, but I think Tool Scrapper is a really nice card to have back into the standard format. It does stop the power level of certain things, so like Metal Frying Pan isn't as much of a threat. Metal Core Barrier, giant charm, spell tag. So there's things that are less of a threat now because of Tool Scrapper, but of course, you do have to decide to play the Tool Scrapper in your deck in the first place, and people have been stubborn in the past when Field Blower was in Standard about actually including one or two Field Blowers when they needed it, so I don't think Tool Scrapper is a nuisance. I think it's a fine card to have around. I'm happy we have this as an option. But not really much else to say about the Tool Scrapper. And then, of course, Speed Lightning Energy, which I think is super cool. Bravo to Pokemon for the new special energies that they're putting out. So this card provides 1 Lightning Energy while it's attached to a Pokemon. When you attach this card from your hand to a Lightning Pokemon, draw 2 cards. So it's a Lightning Energy. You can get it with Guzmahala, of course. And when you attach it, you get to draw 2 cards. So like if this is for your first turn attaching to the Boltund and you're going to use Electrify, not only are you going to accelerate your energy with that attack, but you're also drawing 2 cards first. And I think this is a huge boost to the Lightning archetypes. I'm not sure they really needed it, but Metal archetypes have Zacian's Intrepid Sword to draw some cards. So I'd like to see draw power given to specific types a little bit more. Maybe types that are falling off in Standard, so maybe like something that could fit into Turbo Dark or Dark Box in Standard. Maybe that gets a draw card like this, or I don't know, but I'd like to see more draw cards like this and more unique special energy. So Speed Lightning Energy, all around an awesome card. Very excited to see it, and of course it works beautifully in this deck since we're focusing on Lightning type Pokemon. So here is the list again, and we'll just look at it a bit, maybe why it's built the way it is now that we know what is in the deck. So the main Pokemon I'd say are the 3-3 Toxtricity VMAX and the 3-2 Garbodor. For the 3-3 Toxtricity VMAX, for getting them out, we've got 4 Quick Ball for getting the Toxtricity Vs out. And then, of course, 2 Evolutionary Incense, or 2 Evolution Incense. I always want to call it Evolutionary. But 2 Evolution Incense for getting out the Toxtricity VMAX and the Garbodor itself. Evolution Incense has not really been a very popular card in North America, or honestly outside of Japan. It has not been extremely popular. But I do think it's decent enough, and I don't see a problem with it being in here. Then we've got, of course, the 3-2 Garbodor, which we can also search out with the Quick Ball and with the Evolution Incense. I'd almost like to see some more Pokemon search in here. I'm not really sure what. Maybe Pokemon Communications in place of the Incense. It just feels a little lacking. Especially for a Lightning deck where maybe you're used to having Cherish Balls or Tag Calls or Electromagnetic Radar, so possibly it just feels lacking because it's a Lightning deck that's not Pikarom, and it's definitely different, so that could just be me. And then, of course, you can also get your Boltund, and you're often going to be wanting to get that on turn 1 if you're going second. So maybe a Pokemon Communication or 2 that could search that out could be nice to have, since you only have the 4 Quick Ball again to get those. And also notice that this is not a Jirachi engine deck. It has the 1 Dedenne, and then for kind of for draw support, there's just the 4 Professor's Research. But then other good supporters to use on turn 1, there's also the 3 Volkner and the 2 Guzmahala. Now, Guzmahala, I get why it's there. You can get the special energy with it to draw you cards, so I do think that's good. I'm just worried about always having cards you want to get rid of to get that special energy, but I do think it's fine because it turns Guzmahala into netting, not going negative. Excuse me, not going to -2 on the cards, kind of. So you're playing the Guzmahala and discarding 2 cards to search out the Stadium, the Tool, and the special energy. So you're going down 3 cards to get 3 cards, which, so usually you're going neutral. And then with the Lightning Energy, you're also drawing 2 cards. So I do think it makes Guzmahala pretty strong for this deck. But also the lack of Tag Call to search out your Guzmahala, the lack of Jirachi to get the Guzmahala turn 1, makes that turn 1 Guzmahala, of course, less consistent. So that's something I'd be worried about, and I'm sure there will be lists that try Pokegear or Tag Call or Jirachi or higher counts of Guzmahala or no Guzmahala. And then the Koga's Trap that can inflict poison, so that's pretty good. And then the 3 stadiums, of course, because Garbodor needs a stadium in play to make the poison ability work. I feel like I was expecting to see maybe 4 stadiums in the deck, but since it can be either player's stadium, I think 3 should be just fine, and you also have the Koga's Trap, like I said. So that's just an overall look at the Toxtricity VMAX Garbodor list. Of course, credits to @cardbox_cmall. You can follow them on Twitter. Their account is mostly in Japanese, but they post deck lists, and you can use to translate this tweet, which I do with a lot of accounts that are not in English that I want to see deck lists and information from. So I suggest trying that out. And also, if you're an iPhone user, Palpad is a great app for making deck lists that look like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this early deck profile on Toxtricity VMAX Garbodor, with competitive tournaments being canceled for a little bit. I'm looking for some things to do other than just the gameplay and the deck profiles and the meta discussions. It's a little less relevant now, and I'm having fun exploring older cards and future cards and stuff like that. So, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Let me know if there's other Rebel Clash decks or cards you want me to talk about. I'd love to hear what you want to see. Shout out to PotownStore.com and FlipsideGaming.com. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content in the future, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.